Shalom Habarim. Hello, friends. How are you? I've got some real good and some very, very mighty and true information to share with you all. And what we're talking about specifically now is how to change your destiny and your life, and even your everyday life and the ongoingly created destiny of what happens and how things happen and how it all goes very effectively and wisely through the process or the skill of self-mastery, and by practically applying wisdom, so that you're able to basically make everything in your life very, very good, with God's help, of course, okay? Yet the majority of the work that has to be done is, and really is, based on the decisions that you make using your God-given free will. Because listen, we have wisdom, okay? We know what's right, we know what's best to a certain degree, yet we also have the choice. And we always have the choice, my friends. Because look, see, nothing is left to coincidence, nothing is random. There is a complete, total, universally perfect, systematically progressing order in creation, in the universe, and in all of life. And it's a system, and it's intelligible. Like we have insight into this, and we can understand and comprehend this in the format of what is known to us as the cycles of life and the cyclical system of how life works. Now, this is the thing that is important, because look, you have to be able to change your destiny, and you have to be able to have mastery over yourself, your life, and your destiny, and your good destiny every day. And you have to be able to make it that way so that it is good and it's legitimate. It's something that is commanded. It's something that is totally amenable and that is good and in accordance with the holy law and with God's dictums, his sayings, and directives, and all these things, because it is our life. It is also our good life that we're talking about, right? And we're supposed to actually go ahead and also, right, responsibly and wisely, of course, protect our life and make it a good one through what? Through the divine guidance, the law, the Torah, and also the thing that is wisdom, where it says things like, the beginning of wisdom is a fear of God, okay? Good understanding to all the practitioners. So all you practitioners, welcome. This is the practice, probably the most important practice that you can practice, my friends. It's self-mastery, right? So the beginning of wisdom is a fear of God. Good understanding to all the practitioners, my friends. It's the last verse of Psalm 111. Okay, wisdom is a principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all that getting, get understanding. Amen. And you're getting it right now, because I'm giving it to you. And look, the way it works is that we have to be prudent and circumspect and see clearly through it all as much as possible, my friends, guests, visitors, family members. This is probably the most important perspective to gain and to have, and it's that of a magi or a seer, or someone who, basically by divine blessing has wisdom and can see through it all, okay? To see through it all. What is that? Well, it's like having a map of your life and what's going on in your life and knowing exactly where you are within the cycles of life in your life right now. And therefore you know exactly like what it is good for right now at this time and what it's not good for at this time. And you navigate safely and you're prudent a little bit and you get a lot of positive results from that. Okay, now look, essentially, one must be very circumspect. One must have a good overview of life and the cycles of life, more specifically, the cycles of life that one is in, because here's what happens, okay? It's like being, what is it called? A captain of a ship and having to navigate safely to go on a safe and a prosperous journey from A to B and etc. You have to know what's going on. And it's both visible and invisible. The cycles of life is like based on knowledge and data having to do with your birthday and when your life cycle, for example, your simple overall period of human life of 144 years, right? When it began. Based on your age, you can pinpoint where you are within the cycles of life and then monitor these cycles and see what they're good for and be actively, wisely busy with what they're good for, and then you attain the good things that are available at that time. So here is the basic layout, and that's that there is an absolutely perfect system whereby all of life in the universe and even every person's life is actually operating according to the basic design and the foundation. To have it go on like that and keep on that way, one simply has to be a little bit prudent and make one's make one's free will intelligently obedient to God's law and guidance and wisdom to a certain amount, and that already gives massive positive results and rewards. Okay, so there's actually a perfect path that's already been prepared from like aforetime by the Creator for each and every one of us, even for all of our lives to be perfect. It's actually the case. It's true. I have actually I have discovered this by going like very, very far with prudence and seeing and discovering and actually experiencing very good things that I technically comprehended and I knew that were given by the Creator, yet I had to see this and to go this way, and I know that what I'm saying is true, and that it's even as simply comprehensible as the fact that there is actually a perfect path that's been prepared for all of us. Knowing this is actually very good because, listen, there is in fact nothing to worry about in life, even at the highest and the clearest levels, because there is in fact a perfect path that the Creator has prepared for us from aforetime, from way before, right? That is set, and we're really basically covered and we're good to go even during all of this existence. It is the case. What I'm telling you is the truth. For it to be that way, and for it to be that way today, tomorrow, and so on, and just to keep that going like that, one simply has to be a little bit prudent. Now, this is easily accomplished. All one must do is just basically start to practice self-mastery, have a little bit of self-discipline, and start to choose wisely. And that basically is nothing other than making decisions, whether great or small, right? Whether in business, in personal life, in your health life decisions, whatever you do, making your decisions using a little bit of wisdom, and that already improves things very, very greatly. Okay, now one might ask, okay, so how do you actually do this right now during the day, and how do you even really do this? How does this actually simply work? Well, it's very simple. I will explain. So, first one must know how to navigate the most important and ever-changing parts of life, and that is those are the cycles of life. So the first step is actually to stop, take a deep breath, and check and see what time it really is. And once you know what time it really is, using the wintertime calculation of time, of course, all year round, not the summertime where the clocks are set forward artificially an hour. Forget about that. Use the wintertime, right? So, okay, I'm just going to show you in a nutshell. Look, it's exactly 6 p.m. right now on a Thursday evening on the, what is it, the 15th of January 2026? Okay, great. So, at any given point, every one of us human beings is within about 9 different cycles of life that are very important to monitor. Ideally, every 3 hours of the day and as often as possible, because the more accurate you navigate and monitor, you monitor the cycles of life and navigate wisely and operate in harmony with the cycles of life, the bigger, the better, and the more blessings and, health and wealth and riches and just good things you have permanently, okay? And increasingly, all right? Now look, so the first step to self-mastery is very simple. You must simply identify what life cycles you're in right now. And so you check the time using the wintertime calculation of time. It's 6 p.m. right now, right? Plus, maybe 40 seconds or something, or a minute. Let's say 6:01 p.m. So on a Thursday. So now the daily period of the cycles of life right now is C period. There are 7 of these 3-hour, 25-minute daily periods of the cycles of life every day, right? 7 days makes us strong, hallelujah, okay? And then you have the 3-hour short lunar unit that alternates between negative and positive, constantly alternating between negative and positive. Now, that is currently actually in a positive, it's in a, what's it called? It's a positive short lunar unit because we have a high tide in like approximately a half an hour from now. Now, so the short lunar unit of 3 hours is currently positive for about another half an hour. Then the positive long lunar unit of 3.5 days that we're in right now, that's it's going on for another 3 days approximately. So we're in a positive short and a positive long lunar unit right now. And then I know what annual life cycle period I'm in, right? And then I know what simple overall period of human life I'm in. And then I also have an overview of my soul personality, right? So now, to make this even simpler, use a big, fat, good, high quality in terms of enough room to write and so on, a good calendar, letter-sized paper for the entire year, where there's a page every day where you have the life cycles, including the long and the short lunar unit marked out, because then, look, and we'll get into this now, hold on. Okay, the more of an accurate overview you have of the life cycles that you're actually in, like even during the day when you're making decisions, when you're on the phone, when you're doing business, when you're talking to this person, that person, whatever decisions you're making, whether great or small, these actually have, like, we have to, okay, hold on. All right. Before I get into this, so we've established our position, we've checked, we know where we are and what life cycles we're in right now. Now, based on the description from the book, right, we also know what these life cycles are good for, okay? So what I'm saying is we're doing the right thing right now because this is the time for these types of things to be accomplished. Right here today at this very minute. It's a good time for the realization of great like spiritual truths and gaining, you know, real wisdom and knowledge about creation and life and everything. It's exactly the time for the type of thing, even what I'm doing right now, all you viewers, listen. What I'm doing right now is actually exactly the best possible thing one could do right now based on the times and the cycles of life that we're in and that are going on right now. For example, it's a good time for educational work. So this is, you know, this is a tutorial, right? I'm making this as I speak. Now look, so once you've established and you've clearly identified what life cycles you're in, then what you have to do is operate in accordance with or in harmony with the cycles of life that you're in right now. So like right now, it's a good time for scientific research and publishing and teaching and gaining true, you know, high knowledge and all these things. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. And at the same time, I'm making this into a tutorial to share this with everybody for the better, okay, for the highest good, right? Now look, all the decisions you make, so this is why one should actually have a calendar page, because in this time, right, everybody's using a phone. I'm using a phone right now. They're handy, but your calendar on the phone is inferior compared to utilizing a real big black book with, you know, 300 or like 180 pages in it and a good, comfortable pen, like a high quality pen, like an ink pen that's a good one, right? And actually writing all this stuff down. And before you even write anything down, actually having a calendar page that that shows you, right? Like I think I have this somewhere on the channel. You've got a page for every day. On this page, there's going to be 2 high tides a day and 2 low tides a day. And the 3-hour windows before each one of those, for example, is a positive short lunar unit. Like right now, we're within 3 hours of a high tide at the nearest maritime port. And then we're also within a 3.5 day positive long lunar unit right now as I speak also. Okay, so this is important to pay attention to because now here's the thing. If you really, really look at it in great detail, what goes on in life and the things that happen and what becomes of them based on what time they happen. See, everything in life has a life cycle and a time when it was created. Like the first time you met somebody, that already determines how it will be, generally speaking. The first time, the time when something begins, whatever it is, basically almost produces the destiny of it at that moment even. So now what's important to do is the following. If you accurately sort of map out and monitor and write down the things, well, first of all, coordinate things right. Do the right things at the right times, right? During the right cycles of life, right? So that it will bear the best possible fruit, right? Well, look, one should do this with a handwritten calendar because things just go, like you write this, type this into your phone and, you know, it really sort of disappears in comparison to being written down by hand. So now, look, based on the beginning of a thing, the destiny of the thing is almost already determined. Because everything in life has a life cycle and it has a point of beginning. And the way that something began and it was like whatever life cycles a thing began in leads to what becomes of it, generally speaking. Now, my friends, now, okay. What I'm saying is the more prudently and the more minutely, pinpointedly and accurately, right? The more accurately you operate and practice self-mastery and make the decisions that you have to make during the day, right? Like, listen, today, for example, there's a positive short lunar unit and a positive long. So that gives a double positive lunar unit right now for like another 20 minutes even right now as I speak, where there's a lot of positive, energetically masculine energy available like in creation going on and happening and supporting what happens in life right now. So it's an excellent time for me to actually be doing what I'm doing right now. Now, later, it's going to change again. See, what I'm saying is we have to be able to make decisions. And what's interesting is if we really look at the details of this and how life works, how things happen, how to make, not even how they happen, but moreover, how we actually make these things happen. Either hopefully attentively and like actively, wisely mastering our life and our destiny, and not passively and unknowingly, because that goes on, but there's no more time for that, because things have to be good. They have to be very good, and they are, and they will be maintained thus, without a vow, God willing. You see, mastery, right, is about that. It's determining your fate and your destiny and making it good. Now, one of the things is there's very detailed ways wherein things that happen are even created and how they and why things are how they are. Everything is actually based on how you make it, and how you make it is based on how the system of the cycles of life works and how you work with that. So now, like, even the most sort of infinitesimal decisions, or the biggest decisions seemingly, it's no different, it's the same. What I'm saying is that if you pay very close attention to the decisions you make during the day, for example, what you'll actually start to see is that the more you sort of basically work on the right things at the right time, the more these things work out very good, instead of not happening or not really bringing very much return and so on. And so what happens is, look, the ability to accurately monitor and have an overview of the cycles of life that we're in, using a calendar page for every day, where you can see, right? Look, where you can see, okay, here's a 3-hour window now of opportunity, where if I utilize this 3-hour window of opportunity, it's like what I start here is going to lead to something very good, because it started at a very good time, and it's thus pitched and formed and created that way, and that's how it's going to progress and generally lead to something, okay? So what I'm talking about now is actually by having a circumspect, actual real-time overview of the life cycles that you're in and the quality that, like, the world, the universe around you is in right now, even because of the lunar units, right? Both long and short, and how that makes the energy that seems to systematically go through the universe and power it all, that goes through like negative, energetically feminine resting units, or neutral units, or positive, energetically masculine, life-giving and increasing units. See, by knowing exactly what state we're in right now, or better said, what life cycles we're in right now, we can increase the efficiency and the overall positive, like, effectivity and return of our efforts. So we can sort of optimize everything, because if look, it's like, look, rowing your boat against the current is pretty hard, isn't it? I mean, you could do it. You'll be really buff, really fast. But like, look, it's not really very efficient. It would be a lot easier if you could go with the current and relax and focus on the higher things of life, and then, row a little bit, and then, like, it's going to be a better ride. Okay, well, so that's the same principle at work here. If you know what life cycles you're in right now, if you know what the lunar units are right now, right? If you know what time it is for what things, if you make the right decisions at the right times. Now, why is this important? One would say, oh, but look, it doesn't matter when you do this. I can apply for this at this time and I'll get hired. Well, you could apply then too and you'd get hired too, because you have the degree. No. Everything in creation works according to a certain system. There are 7 daily periods of the cycles of life that are 3 hours and 25 minutes in length. They're all good for different things. And there's 7 of them a day, and 7 days are strong, and so on. So, like, you could do something and it won't work. Or you could do something at the right time and it will actually work. and it's perfectly, absolutely systematic. Now look, this is so important because think about this for a second. If there are objectives that have to be accomplished that are legitimate, right? Well, there's got to be a way to get these things accomplished that are legitimate objectives, because there are things in this life experience, like, food, clothes, shelter, amenities, whatever good things and objectives that are divinely commanded, not forbidden, and that are, wise, that we have to accomplish. And we do, and we are. Yeah, and so should you. So, like, we have to be able to live a good life and benefit, and so should you, so should everybody. Well, it's simply possible by coordinating and organizing your efforts and your life activity properly. Now, as I said earlier, there are details and levels to this. I said that yesterday. There are levels to this in terms of, like, the more accurately you work, so the more accurately and prudently and wisely you work with this, and in life in general, the bigger and the more massive the results are. So it has to do with accuracy. So what's going on, picture this for a second, and this is true. What is happening is that, look, at all times, actually, all the time, like, divine providence or the universal source is providing almost like the potential energy for certain things to manifest. And this includes all the good things in life that you can think of. And it's always systematically being provided by providence. Everything that we can imagine, it's organized into 7 cycles of 7 and so on. 7 a day, 7 cycles of life a day, 7, all this. So what happens is that, what I'm saying is that divine providence is permanently providing everything and more than everything that we could ever, like, that we could have that's good. Like, there's more than enough good for everybody and everything that's constantly being provided. Yet the problem, let's look at the solution. To access this, you have to be able to access this. Now, the way to access this is by being systematic, by coordinating your earth human life activity in accordance with, so that it's in harmony with the cycles of life. So it's like planting in the springtime, taking care of these plants over the spring, summer, and autumn, and then having a good harvest in autumn, instead of trying to plant in the wintertime when there's snow on the ground, right? It's the same logic at work. The thing is, that's true, yet there are details and there are levels to this where, if you start to look into these details, become extremely proficient and powerful at accomplishing things that seem like miracles that came out of nowhere, that even to some people may even sort of look or seem puzzling, like, how did you do that? Well, I just did it by, God's providence and wisdom. Okay, it's really that simple. But see, this is a skill that's so important. Now, what I'm saying is, like, during the day, for example, today I think about this. I was making calls, I was doing this and that and whatever I had to, and I accomplished some good things, actually. But see, listen, if you're looking at, okay, I got to have so and so much amount of money come in over the next 15 days or 30 days, right, to pay for, expenses or whatever, right? Or you've got objectives. It would be good if you could accomplish those for sure, because, that makes things better and easier, doesn't it? Well, there's a way to do that. The way to do that, though, is to be very prudently attentive to pay attention to what cycles of life you're in at the very moment right now, and then act as prudently as possible and in accordance with what the cycles of life that you are in are good for right now. And then what happens is you are most effective and prosperous and healthy and wealthy and good to go and really good, and you have really good life and just like the maximum amount of, good blessings and whatever you can imagine is good, because you're sort of prudent, so that you're accessing what's available by working on the right things at the right time, and that being made to work universally because of the support for that being available. And so the resources are there and that thing is provided, okay? But see, part of this, a very important part of this, though, is to be able to actually, so by monitoring the life cycles you're in, You can also sort of accurately predict the future and the results of an action, like the reaction to a future action within certain identifiable time frames. And these time frames are, every day, the cycles, the short ones, the long ones. And you can predict these and map these out for the future too, and then you know the future. And you can make it a certain way, though. See, that's where it really gets interesting, is to make it a certain way. Right? I can foresee the future and make it a certain way. I can know what will become of something before it becomes, because I know what time it is and what time this is good for. So I know what to make happen now, to create now, so that it will also bear good fruit. And that maximizes your efficiency and security and gives you basically a good life permanently